Greetings to you, bright souls. Let us continue discussing the universal law of sacrifice. Why have people, priests, and shamans always offered sacrifices since ancient times? The whole Bible is written about which sacrifices to offer and when. Where did this ritual of sacrifice come from? Could it be that the gods are so bloodthirsty that they demand sacrifices? Or is there another meaning hidden within? You already know the universal law of sacrifice, which brings happiness, good fortune, wealth, and prosperity. What you give away is yours. What you withhold is lost. When we hide something and try to keep it, sooner or later, God will take it away. But when we give something sincerely, with an open heart, God gives us much more in return. You have noticed this many times in your life, haven't you? And the more you give, the more you receive. This is what the universal law of sacrifice, the law of universal harmony, as it is also called, is all about. Do you want a harmonious life? Do you want to be in balance? Do you want to be free from the suffering of loss? Then you need to learn who requires a sacrifice and how. When it is right to offer it. Ancient people, worshipping the gods, believed that only the gods determined what would happen to mankind. And in many ways, they were right. For Zeus, also known as Jupiter, and Venus, also known as Aphrodite, Saturn, Mars, also known as Ares. All these names of planets and gods personify exactly that. For us Earthlings, planets are gods. And the closest luminary to us is the moon. And the moon, too, demands its sacrifice. Yes, don't be surprised. The moon, so beautiful, romantic, and poetic, sometimes requires sacrifice. The whole point is that there are three kinds of moon. The first is the poetic moon, the one that we see from the sky during the full moon. We sing, compose poems, a beautiful phenomenon. This is a poetic perception of the moon. The second kind of moon is the astrological moon. This is its position in the horoscope. This is its astrological influence on each person's life. This is its position in the sky, how it affects the tides, even the female cycle. This is the astrological meaning of the moon, and it is different from the poetic meaning we chant in verse. And there is the moon reflected in the ray of creation. If you have never heard of the ray of creation, make sure you read the book Darshan. In it, you will learn how God created this world and what the planets mean. What is the significance of the stars, the galaxies, the universe? Where and which God at what level? All this greatest knowledge you can get in the book Darshan. You will find the link in the description. According to the ray of creation, the moon is at the very end. And she is the one that requires sacrifice. Because this moon feeds on the emotions and emanations of people living on Earth. Perhaps you know the children saying, "From the fog the month did creep, pulled a knife from the pocket deep. I will cut, I will strike, I must make a sacrifice." We all thought it was a children's story song, but it is actually an ancient ritual of choosing a sacrifice to the moon. And very many ancient rituals have migrated into fairy tales, children's stories, rhymes, or proverbs. A great deal of ancient wisdom is contained in children's tales. That is why sacrifices were often made on the full moon. Very powerful rites and rituals were performed on the full moon. Witches, shamans, and sorcerers performed their ancient mysteries during the full moon. The moon gives great power, but also requires great sacrifices. And when the moon grows, when it needs energy, various cataclysms and natural disasters begin to happen on the earth, as well as destruction, wars, anything that causes a huge amount of negative emotions, fear, frustration, aggression, anger, tears, suffering. All these emotions feed the moon. And when it demands its victim, it creates these events on Earth. Every Armageddon that has occurred on our planet has been associated with the growth of the moon. It was the moon that needed food. After all, not only one Armageddon, not only one end of the world has already happened on Earth. Dinosaurs died out. Mammoths died out. There were many ends of the world throughout which the Earth was renewed. One life ended and another was born. And the moon is fed by all this organic energy of all living things. In this illustration, you can see the moon taking out a knife. The moon demands sacrifice. And those who suffer, who experience negative emotions, those who go to war, those who unconsciously subject themselves to torment, all these people create food for the moon. How can we avoid this? Do we all exist to be someone else's food? Of course not. Higher beings, people with wisdom and knowledge, can tell us how to avoid sacrificing to the moon, or rather, to make an atoning sacrifice. In this illustration, you see a priest. He stops the flow coming from the moon and chooses whom to sacrifice. After all, the moon acts on the mass. It needs mass sacrifice, cataclysms, wars. But the priest can perform an atoning sacrifice. That is why in ancient times they sacrificed rams, cattle, in order to feed the moon. But at the same time, to preserve the lives of those who were dear, and only a wise man, a shaman, a priest, a knowledgeable person can make such an atoning sacrifice. He can teach us how to sacrifice not what is dear and important to us, but how to sacrifice something insignificant. What can we sacrifice to the moon in return? In this illustration, you see a man on the altar. His skin has been removed. The skin is the personification of his animal nature. He got rid of and gave up his animal nature. He sacrificed his negative emotions, aggression, anger, grudges, resentments, attachments. Anything animal that is not really intrinsic to man must be sacrificed to the moon. The priest can tell you how to do it. The moon generates conflicts, wars, revolutions, various clashes between people. How to get rid of them? To begin with, we need to ponder. What makes us go to war? What makes people create revolutions, riots? There is a mass collective compulsion through which people go in crowds to their deaths. It's been that way for centuries. There has not been a single period of life on Earth where there has not been a war. There are always wars. A collective insanity arises. For, as it is written on the Delphic temple, there is no good in a crowd, and most people are bad. The ancient priests spoke about this, knowing how much the crowd influences the human mind. And at this point, you need to think about whether I am free from this collective unconsciousness, whether I am succumbing to mass suggestion or not. Or maybe I've already changed. Outgrown it all. Have I grown higher? Man must eradicate from himself everything that makes him succumb to mass self-indulgence. Propaganda, advertising, everything that makes people commit reckless acts, turning them into a flock of sheep. Only a conscious, truly spiritual person will never go along with the crowd. He will always be conscious, alert, and cautious. If one learns to resist all mass influences, it means to free oneself from the influence of the moon. And only then a person can truly develop spiritually. This is the ability of people of a very high spiritual level. Those incarnated from angels. Those who have already passed many spiritual incarnations. These are very rare people. They are at the very top of the pyramid. And if you are watching this video now, if you are interested in everything you hear, if you are subscribed to our channel and strive for development, it means that you are that chosen soul who is reaching for the light, who has a great destiny. After all, those people who have recently incarnated from animals, insects, they don't even have the thought of getting out from under social influence. And if you tell them that they are under such influence, they will be very surprised. They will say that you are stupid, that they are actually free, and are not under any influence at all. If a person thinks like that, it means that he has not yet reached a high level of understanding. After all, sages, priests, shamans have always known how much influence the moon has, and how important it is to learn how to make the right and timely sacrifice. Therefore, dear ones, if you want to live a fulfilled, harmonious, happy life, it is necessary to create a balance that will help you to fulfill all your dreams and desires. Watch the video on the worldwide universal law of sacrifice, which talks about the right way to sacrifice and when can you sacrifice, how to achieve happiness, prosperity, and wealth. Precious ones, you are worthy of all the best. We wish you always to be in happiness and harmony, to understand the mysteries of the gods and planets. For this, come to our seminars, classes, consult with the guides of power, with those who know and know the truth, with those who always aspire to power. Only then will you be able to find the true understanding of the meaning of your life. You will know what talents and abilities you have, and maybe even get an amulet or talisman that will be able to protect you from all negative influences. You, your loved ones, relatives, all those who are dear to you. Right now, you can go to the website and find out what kind of amulet you need, what kind of spirit helper your loved ones need. And most importantly, to realize the truth and knowledge, seek the help of great wisdom. It is hidden in our portal, in the ancient books, the knowledge that can turn your life upside down. Be sure to follow the link. Watch, read, learn about yourself and the world. Never before has truth been conveyed in such a light, so bright and pure form. We even have an animated masterpiece that tells the mysteries of the creation of the world. If you want to understand why the universal law of sacrifice exists, why did God create it, and if it is important for someone to understand it visually, to vividly see it, then watch the 13th episode of the cartoon Life, after life. There, you will learn everything you never even guessed and realize what is the meaning of your life on Earth. You will find everything by clicking on the links in the description. If you want even more of these interesting videos, then be sure to like this video so we know what kind of knowledge interests you. Share this link with those who are able to understand the depth encrypted here. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. And be sure to put a bell not to miss new videos. See you soon. Be happy.